When I tell you that it's hard, I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah,
Weird, weird.
Did Rachel Zegler just come back to her senses? Or is it just an attempt at damage control after the Snow White trailer release on YouTube? With fan backlash mounting and analysts predicting trouble ahead, could this be Disney's last-ditch effort to turn the tide before Snow White hits theaters? Mirror, mirror on the wall. What's the most controversial Disney movie of them all? From skyrocketing budgets to fiery backlash, and even a political firestorm, Rachel Zegler's Snow White has become Disney's $300 million nightmare. But how did this classic reimagining go so terribly wrong? With casting debates, reshoots, fan outrage, and a teaser trailer that's anything but enchanting, this is the story of how the fairest princess of them all landed in the middle of Hollywood's biggest controversy yet. Disney's live-action remake of Snow White starring Rachel Zegler is turning into a massive $300 million headache for the House of Mouse. Fans are outraged, controversies are spiraling, and the financial stakes sky high. Let's break it all down. From casting choices to creative decisions, it seems like this movie can't catch a break. But why exactly is Snow White drowning in backlash? And will Disney's billion-dollar brand take a hit because of it? First up, let's talk money. Because this Snow White remake is bleeding it. Production costs alone have skyrocketed to a jaw-dropping $269 million, and that's before marketing expenses. For context, Disney's live-action Beauty and the Beast cost $160 million, and it went on to rake in over $1.2 billion at the box office. But Snow White, with all the backlash, insiders are wondering if this one will even break even. Now, let's not forget marketing. Disney's known for its extravagant campaigns. Add another $100 million or more for global promotion, and we're looking at a potential $370 million gamble. If this film flops, it could be one of Disney's most expensive failures ever. With a budget that big, you'd expect this to be a surefire hit. But the controversy swirling around the film is making that a tough sell. Then there's the casting backlash. Rachel Zegler, best known for her role in West Side Story, landed the iconic role of Snow White. But not everyone was thrilled about the modern reimagining of this beloved character. Fans have taken to social media, criticizing the decision to stray from Snow White's original depiction in the 1937 animated classic. The star made headlines for her comments about the original Snow White movie, calling it dated and hinting that her version would be a more modern, empowered take on the character. While some applauded her feminist stance, others slammed her for what they felt was disrespect toward a Disney classic. These remarks sparked a wave of backlash, with fans accusing Ziegler of alienating the very audience Disney relies on, loyal lovers of the original fairy tale. And let's not forget the debates about the exclusion of the Seven Dwarfs, which drew criticism from yet another corner of the internet. Here's where things get even more complicated. Snow White officially wrapped filming back in July 2022. But just when Disney thought they could put the finishing touches on this magical tale, the project hit another roadblock: extensive reshoots. And let's be real, reshoots are never cheap. Insiders report that the additional filming not only delayed the release, but also drove production costs even higher, pushing that already staggering $269 million budget into uncharted territory. Now, reshoots can sometimes save a project, fixing plot holes or refining performances. But in the case of Snow White, it seems the changes were less about polishing and more about damage control. Rumors suggest the studio was scrambling to address fan concerns and criticism sparked by early test screenings, and of course, all that backlash. With this much money on the line and release deadlines looming, reshoots are a risky gamble. Will they fix the film's issues, or just add to Disney's $300 million nightmare? And now, the ultimate jaw-dropper. Snow White's final production budget, including marketing, is expected to surpass a staggering $400 million. Yes, you heard that right. This remake is shaping up to be one of Disney's most expensive projects ever. Between the ballooning production costs, those costly reshoots, and an aggressive global marketing campaign, Disney is betting big, really big on this film. Even Disney's blockbuster hit The Lion King remake cost $260 million, and it brought in over $1.6 billion at the box office. For Snow White to turn a profit, it would need to rake in at least $800 million, and that's assuming it doesn't face any more setbacks. Back in 2017, the live-action Beauty and the Beast had a total budget of $255 million, including production and marketing. That's a hefty sum, but it paid off in a big way, grossing an astonishing $1.2 billion at the global box office. Fans embraced Emma Watson as Belle, and the film stayed true to its animated roots while adding a few modern touches. It was a perfect mix of nostalgia and innovation, and Disney laughed all the way to the bank. Snow White's budget is already higher than Beauty and the Beast, and experts are skeptical it can replicate the same level of box office success. With a target of at least $800 million just to break even, the stakes are sky high. One of the most heated debates surrounding Snow White stems from its casting choice. Rachel Zegler, known for her standout performance in West Side Story, was cast as Snow White, a character traditionally depicted as white in both the original Brothers Grimm tale and Disney's 1937 animated classic. While some praised Disney for embracing diversity and taking a bold, modern approach to casting, others criticized the decision, arguing that it strayed too far from the character's roots. Social media became a battleground, with hashtags and debates dominating Twitter and TikTok for weeks after the announcement. Many fans argued that Rachel Zegler, who is of Colombian descent, doesn't align with the original depiction of the character, an ivory-skinned princess with hair as black as ebony, lips as red as blood, and skin as white as snow. Rachel Zegler herself added fuel to the fire with some eyebrow-raising comments about the original Snow White. In interviews, Zegler described the 1937 animated classic as creepy and dismissed its central love story as outdated. She went on to say that her version of Snow White would be a more modern take, focused on the character's independence and personal growth rather than the traditional romance with Prince Charming.
It's really not about the love story at all.
While some applauded her feminist perspective, others saw it as a slight against a beloved piece of cinematic history. Fans didn't hold back their opinions, with many accusing Zegler of being disrespectful to the legacy of Disney's first princess, a film that not only defined the studio, but also revolutionized animation. One outraged fan tweeted, "If she hates the original so much, why is she starring in the remake?" Insiders worry that Zegler's remarks may alienate the core audience Disney relies on, families and nostalgia-driven fans. After all, the original Snow White is a cornerstone of Disney's legacy, and critiquing it so openly has left many wondering if this remake is losing the magic that made the original so iconic. Negative public perception is a dangerous game in Hollywood, and in this case, it's casting a shadow over what was supposed to be a groundbreaking reimagining of Snow White. With the movie already under scrutiny for its massive budget and creative choices, this PR firestorm couldn't have come at a worse time. The 2024 presidential election added a whole new layer of drama to Disney's Snow White. Following the re-election of President Donald Trump, Rachel Zegler took to social media with a scathing critique, expressing deep animosity toward Trump supporters. In her posts, Zegler didn't hold back, stating, "May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace," and concluding with Hemker Donald Trump. These incendiary remarks ignited a firestorm, alienating a significant portion of the potential audience and sparking widespread calls for a boycott of the film. Conservative commentators, including Megyn Kelly, demanded that Disney take action, with Kelly labeling Zegler a pig and suggesting that Disney should reconsider her role in the film. The backlash was swift and intense, with many questioning whether Zegler's political outspokenness was appropriate for the star of a family-oriented Disney film. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Zegler issued a public apology, stating, "I let my emotions get the best of me. Hatred and anger have caused us to move further and further away from peace and understanding, and I am sorry I contributed to the negative discourse." Social media was ablaze with hashtags like #FireRachelZegler and #NotMySnowWhite, with critics arguing that her polarizing remarks were unbefitting of a family-friendly Disney princess. When Disney finally dropped the Snow White teaser trailer, fans were expecting a glimmer of hope, but instead, it only poured gasoline on the fire. The trailer was met with widespread criticism, leaving audiences even less interested in the film. On YouTube, the trailer's reception was brutal. with a staggering number of dislikes and comments like, "This isn't Snow White, it's a cash grab," and "Another classic ruined by Hollywood." The public response was a clear indicator of dwindling enthusiasm. Experts estimate that for Snow White to break even, it would need to gross at least $800 million worldwide. That's no small feat, especially when public sentiment is lukewarm at best. For comparison, The Little Mermaid remake struggled to hit $569 million globally earlier this year, despite having far less controversy attached to it. Critics argue that Snow White fell into the trap of trying to do too much, changing core elements of the story to appeal to modern sensibilities while alienating longtime fans who felt the original was being disrespected. It's a delicate tightrope, and when mismanaged, it can lead to exactly what we're seeing here: division and disappointment. The challenge now isn't just for Snow White, it's for Disney as a whole. Can they find a way to reimagine their classics in a way that bridges the gap between nostalgia and progress? Or will projects like this continue to divide audiences and chip away at the goodwill Disney has built over decades?